All right, this is the first episode of Midwest Angler. I'm Scott Stuerman, and I'm sitting here with Matt Deutsch. Matt, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. So obviously this is the first episode of this podcast. We're hoping to give you guys a new episode every 2 weeks or so. That's the plan as of right now. We will be taking some ice trips here as it's the end of November, almost December. Getting into ice fishing season, and we'll be taking some ice trips, and we'll tell you guys about the ice trips, where we're going, what we're doing, what kind of fish we'll be targeting, and what kind of techniques we'll be using out there on the ice. But today we just want to get started and introduce ourselves to you guys. I'll kind of start asking Matt some questions, and Matt can ask me some questions after that, and we'll just kind of go from there. So Matt, tell us, where'd you grow up? How'd you get started fishing?
Well, I grew up in Ellsworth, Minnesota. I can remember fishing from a young age. My grandpa and my dad and my Uncle Rich were always taking myself and my brothers out, and always on some type of adventure, it seemed like, to a different lake. I mean, whether it be in the summer, wintertime. Some of my fondest memories are going to the Iowa Great Lakes every New Year's and going down there and catching a ton of bluegills back in those days. So that's kind of how I got started. Throughout the years, I've just kind of always I just fell in love with it and kind of always pursued that passion, and to this day it's stuck with me, and just kind of try to keep after it and try to introduce all kinds of new people into it as well.
Right on.
How about yourself?
Well, I think my dad and my grandpa, both my grandpas, started taking me and my brother Eric out, when we were younger. My grandpa had a lake house up on West Okoboji, so we did a lot of jigging with maggots and waxworms off the side of the dock for bluegills and all sight fishing. That was a lot of fun. I think that's why still to this day bluegills is really something special to me. I just still really like them, and I think that's kind of how it started. I mean, we did some fishing as kids with one of my babysitters and my dad and whatnot down at the Rock River, and I kind of grew out of it when I got to be a high schooler, too cool to fish, whatever. But
I think we all go through that stage.
Yeah. But no, I think once I moved back to Rock Rapids, and I think one spring I saw a guy on Facebook that had gone down to the little dam here in Island Park in Rock Rapids and caught a couple smallmouth, and I went down there and I threw a twister tail, and bam, I caught a smallmouth, and it was like, wow, this is fun. And I think that's kind of what started the obsession, and ever since then, that's still to this day, spring on the Rock River that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how good of a fishery we have right here in this town that runs through it. I mean, it can be tough. I mean, this summer was a little tough because, with all the rain and the water levels, one day or 1 week, it's perfect fishing, or it's a couple days away where it's like, oh man, it's just there, it's really going to go. Then all of a sudden, next you know, we get 6 inches of rain, it's up out of its banks and almost unfishable at times.
Yep, exactly. So when, you've had a fishing boat for as long as I've known you, is that what kind of started you on the lake fishing? And I mean, for those of you that don't know, Matt is a bass fisherman, and is that kind of where it all started once you got a boat, or before that?
Well, before that, I can remember my dad bringing my brothers and I up to the Stuerman Park in Laverne, Minnesota, and that's, they had bass in there, and that was the only spot in this area where you could catch bass. And man, just something about it, just being able to throw it, and just the strikes and almost ripping the rod out of your hands. It's just something that it was just like, wow, I love this. And that's what I started to do. And I mean, I was a bank beater. We'd come down to the river here in town, put on a lot of miles, walking up and down the bank, trying to catch, whether it be, bass, catfish, northerns, anything that would really bite. And just, as I got older, like you said, got busy with school, sports, things like that, college, kind of went away from that, but eventually started really getting back into it, and yeah, when I started working at Shields part-time in the fishing department up there, I mean, it just refueled that passion that I had for fishing, and it's like, man, I need to get a boat. I've never had one.
Yep.
My grandpa always had one, and we always used to fish out of that, but it was just like, I need one. I was able to find one, fished out of that for several years, and yeah, last year upgraded, and you got the other one.
Yep. I can't wait for spring to finally get that thing out. That is going to be fun.
Yeah, and that's just something like, it's just something about open water. It wasn't up until the last few years I didn't ice fish much. You and your brother Eric were always talking about it, and I was like, man, all right, I need something to get me through the winter months.
Yep.
I mean, I can only go out and try to call in coyotes so much without seeing anything, so it's like, let's do this ice fishing thing. You guys were always going over, catching a bunch of bluegills at like Okoboji and stuff, and I'm just like, all right, let's do it. Started kind of investing some money into the equipment and all that. Before long, yeah, I look forward to the ice fishing thing, but yeah, there's still something about the open water that I just love.
Yep.
Well, how about like as far as like with you and as far as like ice fishing goes, what was it that got you into ice fishing that you enjoyed so much about it?
Well, I think for us, for me and Eric, growing up and not having a boat, it really evens the playing field. Everyone, when you don't have a boat, you're stuck to the dock or, the shore or whatever. Ice season, anyone can go anywhere on the lake, and, me and Eric spent a lot of time in Miller's Bay in a $50 pop-up shack that we bought from my uncle. No electronics, Walmart rods, the cheap jigs, and, get some wax worms from the bait shop here in town, and we would go over there. And I remember us being way up in the shallows in Little Millers, and I distinctly remember the one time me and Eric went over there, and we came back with, I think, 1 or 2 bluegills and 3 2-foot northerns, and I mean, we truly thought that we were the coolest cats in town. I think we truly thought that we had caught more fish than anybody else out there that day. And once we got electronics, Eric upgraded to a Vexlar before I did, and I told him, you're stupid, you don't need that stuff. And then I got one, and that's when we really started doing better. And I gotta think that from all the times that we went over there and would catch 1 or 2 fish, that's what really, I feel it made us better fishermen, once we finally did upgrade to the electronics and, to nicer shacks, better rods. I feel like it made both of us better, and, we just started doing a lot better, got our jigging techniques down, learned different spots in the lake to go, and one of the other things is being mobile. I think there was a long time there where me and Eric would drill 1 hole because, well, we had a hand auger, and I mean, we would sit on that exact spot for the day. That was our hole, that was it, and we were more than happy to catch 2 fish in an 8-hour period, and now that we know that there is bigger and better things out there, now if we drill 3-4 holes and kind of hole hop around and we're not finding them, we're going and drilling 3 or 4 more in another part of the lake, or we're switching lakes, and I think that's every year you get a little bit better, and you learn a little bit more, and I mean I feel like we're getting to a level now where very seldom do we, get skunked anymore. It's
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
no.
It is crazy as far as like the ice fishing thing goes, as like the technology that's coming along. I mean, it's unreal. I mean, I can remember going out with my dad and my grandpa, and it was just the old poles that had the line that wrapped around the bottom of them, and you just strung it down there, and yeah, you drill a couple holes, and that's what you'd fish all day. Now with the technology as far as augers go, with all the different kinds of augers, I mean, you can go out there. I mean, we do this a lot of times when we go out. It's like, it's not just drill one hole and start fishing. It's usually like, all right, we kind of like see the structure with all the mapping and all that stuff before we even go out. And it's like, okay, let's start drilling holes here, check depths. Are we marking any fish or anything like that? Fish a spot for a while, move. I mean, there's times where we get out there and it's, you drop it down there, that first drop, and the screen lights up, and here they come. You're like, oh yeah, we hit the spot. You catch a couple fish, and then it just goes dead. You know, old thinking, we'd be like, well, we caught fish here, so we're going to keep fishing it. You know, we're going to fish this hole until they come back. I mean, they got to come back sometime. But now it's just like, okay, yeah, they're not biting anymore. Now what are we going to do? We can just sit here and then tell everybody how, oh, they were tight-lipped today. Or we can figure out, what do we got to do to make these things bite? Is it, do we got to move?
We got to find them.
Yep.
Got to find them, switch jigs,
Yep,
whatever.
switch jigs. I mean, it's crazy how much little things can affect those. I mean, is it how my waxworm is sitting on my hook? I mean, we've had that before over in
fresh waxworms.
Over on East Okoboji that time when we were catching yellow bass. I was fishing about 20 foot from you, maybe a little further, but it was close. And I was catching all kinds of little ones. You weren't catching as many as I was, but the ones you were catching were big ones.
Yep.
So it's just like, it's just that how 20 feet can make that huge difference when it comes down to fishing. Are you on the structure? Are you close to the structure? It's just, I mean, it's kind of what makes it fun, I think, for us, and that's why we love to do it.
Yep.
I mean, it's always different.
Now, you do a lot of summertime fishing. You get to go on a few trips out South Dakota, Minnesota. Tell us about, you know, where you go up in Minnesota, where you go out in South Dakota, what kind of fish you target. And
well, you know, you talked about earlier about how much I enjoy bass fishing. You know, it's kind of something like I grew up watching it on TV. That was my Saturday morning cartoons. I wasn't watching cartoons. I had to get up to watch the fishing shows. And I always remember, like, if we had a bass in our bucket, we'd catch a bass, and I put it in the bucket just so I could pull it out of that bucket like I was pulling it out of my live well, like I was at the Bassmaster Classic.
Kevin Van Dam.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's what got it. That's what I loved. I won't lie to you. There's still times where I put a fish in my live well and just do it just for fun. You know, just, all right, yeah, I caught this, look at this, and then you obviously let it go. But as far as my trips that we go on, I love going out to South Dakota in the summertime. You know, being a teacher, it's nice for me. I get to get all those months off, and when I'm not busy, I can get over there when the lakes aren't busy. My favorite day to go over there is a Monday, because everybody's gone from the weekend. Now I can get out there, and usually, you know, there might be a few other boats out there on the lake, but usually I can have it to myself a lot of the times. I go up in that Brookings area a lot, sometimes up by Watertown area, and my main target when I go out there is walleyes. There's just something different about South Dakota walleyes. I mean, that's nothing against Iowa walleyes, Minnesota walleyes, and all that stuff, but there's just something about them. They are thick and they are mean over there. I don't know if it's the freshwater shrimp or what it is, but we go over there, and an 18-inch walleye over there, it's like, oh, it's an 18-inch, you know, it's an 18-inch walleye. You're like, oh, that's just a normal size one. You come down to the Iowa Great Lakes, say, and I catch one on Spirit Lake, and I'm like, oh, that one's only going to be about, you know, 18 inches, maybe at the most, maybe 17 and a half, and you throw it on the measuring board, and it's like 21 inches. They're just a longer, leaner fish, just the way they are built and what they forage on.
Yep.
Whereas those South Dakota ones, I mean, they are thick when you get them. Yeah, go up there a lot. Minnesota, every year we take a 2-week vacation up to the Alexandria area. We fish on Lake Mary up there. Fish a few of those other lakes up there. I love going up there just for the fact of there's so many lakes.
Yep.
You know, we grew up around here, and you can probably attest to this with me, that, you know, our nearest lake here, I mean, we have Lake Pahoja, which is about 15 minutes from here, but we want to go fish any other lake, we got to commit a lot of time to it.
It's an hour.
I mean, we go over to Spirit Lake, Okoboji, over to that area, it's 45 minutes. We go over, fish any lakes around Sioux Falls, it's an hour.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like we can just jump in our vehicle after work and be there and fish and get going. I mean, it takes a little bit of time. So, I mean, that's why, like, we make half-day trips out of it, or full-day trips out of it, or even a multi-day trip out of it.
Yep.
I mean, so that's why I love going up to that area in Alexandria, because you can fish at one lake, we're not catching anything. You can load your boat up, and you can be fishing on another lake within 15 minutes.
Yep.
So, I mean, down here, we just don't have that. I mean, and it's just the way it is.
Yep.
That's
Does make the trips a little bit more special when you finally do get to go. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times we don't necessarily look over at quantity trips. We look at quality trips.
Yep.
And that's what one nice thing about living in Rock Rapids right here and having the river come through town. That's where we can like shoot each other a text or call, be like, hey, what you doing? Oh, we're down at the river. We run down to the river, and you're fishing within 5 minutes, and yeah, I mean, there's days where we might catch one 8-inch smallmouth bass. There's days where we catch multiple 15 to maybe 18, even 20-inch, smallies.
Yep.
And then every once in a while, being a river, I mean, we catch a 25-plus inch walleye.
Yep. Yeah, you caught a dandy this last
Yeah,
last summer down there.
23 inches.
Yep.
Had to give you the call up because I needed somebody to take my picture of it. And I mean, and then you've caught some nice flatheads out of. I mean, some flatheads out of there and stuff like that. So, and then the northerns and stuff. So I mean, that's what kind of gets us through in between those trips is the Rock River here in town.
Yep. Bucket list. Got any bucket list fish? Bucket list trips?
There's all kinds of them. I mean, but I guess as far as like if I had to do an ice fishing one, the Devil's Lake thing, I really want to go up there and go after a big perch.
Oh yeah.
Something that's in the area as far as that goes, as bucket list would be like that. You've really got me on this going out to the Black Hills.
Oh yeah.
Kick. That's ever since we started talking about that, and I know you've been talking about it for a couple years, and we are going to do it this winter, here pretty soon, hopefully.
Yep.
That's something. I mean, when you just think about the scenery, the lakes that you're out there fishing, and how just pristine it is, and how it's not like a big thing over there. I mean, we talked to some guys at the ice show in Sioux Falls that said, if we see 30 people out on the lake, it's like, holy buckets, this is busy.
Yep.
What's going on? Somebody got the bite out. Whereas if we go over to Okoboji and we only see 30 people out on the ice, and it's just like, I wonder what's going on.
No one must be catching something, or they all got their limit already.
It's like, this is weird.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd have to say something like that.
Yep.
Open water. Open water. There's a lot of them. If there's one that I really would like to do, it's not like necessarily like a place that I want to go for sure to fish, but I think it would be fun to fish in like a tournament.
Oh yeah.
As far as like as a co-angler.
Yep.
I mean, just because you can learn so much as a co-angler.
Yep.
Or even, we've talked about it before, like the Bassmaster Elite Series, they have the Marshall program. I don't get a fish if I go do that, but it would be so much fun just to be in a boat all day long with those pros and just watch them.
A lot of knowledge to pull off those guys.
And you can not only like just talking to them about it, but just by watching them. I mean, you can learn a lot of stuff by just being quiet and watching sometimes.
Yep.
What about yourself? What are like some of your bucket list trips, ice fishing and open water?
Oh, for sure, the Black Hills trip. The Black Hills is just near and dear to my heart. I don't know. The smell of it just gets me going. I don't know. And to be out there, I've made a lot of summer trips the last few years.
Yeah, you guys go out there quite a bit.
But last February, me and my wife had a chance to go out there for the Hooked on the Hardwater banquet, and just being out there in the wintertime is just a totally different ball game. The crowds are not there, and just to see those lakes and whatnot, with the snow and everything, it was just really neat. And I've never caught trout. I've never been in a place where trout was, even a possibility. So go out there.
I think both of our thoughts on trout those are the things that are in the pond or the thing at the sportsman show, right? The
Trout Haven.
Trout trough. It's just like, okay, here's a $1, sit there and try to catch a trout. Yeah.
Yep. No, there's a video of Craig Euler online fishing Pactola, and he catches a brown trout, and thin ice, clear water, and you can see that fish down below, before he gets it up. And I mean, that was the video that was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. And that's just kind of been a bucket list deal of mine. And I got enough of you friends that are interested. I'm praying and hoping that this is the year that we do it, and I think it will be. Just to get out there, and they talked about how good the perch were, and I guess if we get out there and catch a rainbow trout, not a lake trout or a brown trout, but catch a couple rainbows, catch some perch, just being in a place that's so much different than what we're used to. I mean, to fish water that's deeper than around here, if we're fishing a lake and it's over 25 foot deep, that's as
That's deep.
Yeah, exactly. And I know West Okoboji gets deep, but we don't, that's not what we're fishing out there. We're 17 feet on East Okoboji, 8 foot on Miller's Bay on West Okoboji, 16, 17 feet up on Ponset, just last year taking that Ponset trip, kind of opened my horizons, and that was just a lot of fun. But
well, yeah, it was kind of different on Lake Sinai and sitting there 30 foot, 31 foot of water.
Yep.
And having those crappies there that were suspending. I mean,
yeah, that was fun.
Usually, you get some suspending fish in some of these lakes that we are on sometimes, but it kind of made sense when you saw the school come through. It's like,
okay, that's what that is.
Yeah,
Reel up.
It's like usually you're just like, why are those? It must be interference or something. Why are those lines on, the sonar? And it's like, oh, all right, yep.
Yep. And as far as open water bucket list, walleye is something that has kind of plagued me forever. You brought me up into South Dakota here 2 years ago, and that was the first time that we had ever caught fish, and I had caught numbers of walleye. I'd catch them in the river here, catch them over at Okoboji, one every year or something like that. But I never caught decent amounts. Now since I've gone out with you a number of times, we've gotten on to good walleye bites and whatever. But real bucket list has got to be something with the ocean, or I would say the ocean somewhere, down Central America, some of those wild fish that they catch down there, or I would say that, or I don't know, big catfish, I don't know, I'm really pretty open, I'm still a little bit green when it comes to open water fishing. I'd really like to go up to Lake Winnipeg sometime and catch.
Yeah, go after those greenbacks up there. Yep. That would be fun.
There's a lot of fish. A lot of fish on my bucket list yet.
And that's the thing I think with both of us. It's just, we can't. Obviously, you can't get it done in 1 year.
Oh yeah.
As much as we'd like to.
Yep.
You can't get it done in 1 year. It takes a lot of planning because. It's long trips for us.
Oh yeah, yep.
We got some stuff that's close to here. For some people, one of their bucket lists might be the Iowa Great Lakes coming over there.
Oh yeah.
And we get to go fish it really whenever we want to.
Yep.
There is a wide variety over there. There's a lot of water to fish. There's a lot of different fish species that you can get after. I think you would agree on this. We talk about this a lot. We're not always focused on the catch and everything like that. It's about the adventure.
Oh, yeah.
It's about the trip. It's, a lot of people out there and a lot of people that I don't know if don't understand it. It's like, how can you go sit on a block of ice all day long, or how can you're out there and out fishing all day long and all you caught was like 3 or 4 fish, and sometimes we get disappointed with that, like as far as like the numbers or something we caught. But there's still something, you got to always take the positives out of it. You got to look at it kind of like, okay, why? Maybe what is it? Maybe it's something that I wasn't doing right as far as maybe my jig wasn't tied the right way onto my line. It wasn't sitting horizontal. It was kind of angled. Maybe that's why I was seeing a lot of fish, but I wasn't catching any.
Well, if we went over to Okoboji every single weekend of the winter and caught a limit of bluegills and caught a limit of walleyes, I really think after 4 or 5 weeks, the first week, the second week, the third week would be, oh yeah, but it would, it would get, I don't know if I want to say boring, but I mean, the challenge, you got to go through the bad days, to really appreciate the good days. And
it's exactly right.
Yeah, I think I'd really like to go out west somewhere and learn to fly fish. I bought a fly rod here 2 years ago and have never had it out of the box. I'd like to try catching trout on a fly rod just because that's something that I've never done before.
Maybe we'll have to take a trip over to southeastern Minnesota sometime. My father-in-law knows some streams over there that have some pretty good trout fishing in them. So
I would do it.
And I keep saying I need to do that sometime over there too, because that's what it's about. It's about the experience of catching a lot of different species of fish, not necessarily like we talked about, like catching this much. Yeah, we can put it on Facebook or social media all the time and be like, yeah, look how many fish we caught and stuff like that. But it's more about bringing like not just the fish we caught, but like the adventure we were on.
Right.
We keep bringing this adventure. We talk like that's the thing about the Black Hills. I think you said it to Craig when we were at that talking to him that day, and it's just like, I don't care if we catch one or if we catch two or none. It's just, you're out there in the mountains.
Yep. You're in a wild place. A lot different than the cornfields we're used to. And
driving by the hog confinements and the cornfields.
Yeah.
And
No, it's just that's
flat land around here.
That's just something different. No, I guess we're probably we've kind of introduced ourselves and whatnot. I guess we'll get back for a second and kind of explain what we're going for here with this Midwest Angler podcast. Like I said, we're going to try to hopefully do this every 2 weeks or so. Maybe sometimes it'll be a little bit farther stretched out depending on what we got going, and if we do a couple trips, in between times, depending on our schedules, maybe we'll get something going, and maybe once a week, in the busy time. I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure that out, but we're hoping to maybe down the road get some special guests on here with us. Matt knows a number of great guides and I guess you could say pro fishermen in the area, and if we could get a couple of those guys on here, at some point, not every week or every episode, but get a few of those guys on there and see what they have to say. Those guys are filled with knowledge, and if they can tell us what they've been up to, where they're at, techniques they're using, new stuff that they're using, I think any knowledge that they can shed on all of us, is great.
Oh, for sure. That's like I said earlier, we're always trying to learn.
Yep.
And that's the best way. I think even professional fishermen, if you ask them, they're always learning too, whether it be from themselves.
Oh yeah.
Or talking to other people, and that's what it's all about.
Yep. Some of the old guys at the boat ramps know the secrets.
You're dang right. You see an old timer there, you go talk to him.
Yep.
You help him out with what he needs and stuff like that. He'll tell you.
Yep.
He might not tell you where. He'll tell you maybe around that area.
Yep.
And they like chatting about it just like we do.
Oh yeah. And another thing that we really would like to do is a gear review. Every episode, we're constantly getting new rods, new shacks,
Shh, don't tell our wives.
Yeah, don't tell our wives. We haven't gotten anything new for years.
Yeah, still just with this pole with the little string wrapped around it.
Yep. No, yeah, do a gear review, throughout the year, as we're getting new stuff, figuring that out, and, just kind of tell you guys about it, what we like about it, maybe what we don't like about it, where we bought it, what the cost, on some of this stuff is, and maybe we'll have to fabricate that a little bit, but, tell you about new stuff that we're using if it's working, and hopefully we'll get new stuff often enough that we can do something like that.
Yep, shed some knowledge on you.
Yep.
Could be anything as simple as just maybe a new tungsten jig we're trying out, or maybe it's a new sonar system that we have.
Yep. Yeah, well, I think that pretty much probably will wrap up our first episode, unless you
Definitely
got something
fun.
else.
History in the making.
Yeah, first episode, we'll be signing autographs afterwards.
Dang right. I don't think there's been a better duo behind the mic than, man, I don't know.
No, Gary Dolphin and Ed Podolak.
Yeah, definitely.
Joel Viss and Jay Kelly.
We're pushing it there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is episode number 1 for Midwest Angler. We appreciate you if you made it this far with us, and hope to see you then again in hopefully 2 weeks. Thank you.